almost.
Oh gosh, I am so excited to have my dear friend Matt
Mm,
today with us. You guys met him in our summit if you joined the summit this year. He spoke for our summit last year as well. He's just a very, very precious soul.
mm,
And I'm excited to be here with you today because we've got some big things to talk about.
mhm,
And one of the main ideas in this thread or this batch of interviews that I'm going to be doing for the next few months is really leaning into the question of how can I be my most well? Does that make sense? How can I
Yes.
lean into, because it's not just symptom resolution. I mean, that's awesome.
Mhm,
That's like level one when we can get there. But when we can move past that into how can I just lavishly nourish me, who
mhm.
I am as a being, and
Yes.
walk in the fullness of who I am and just experience life at the best level that I can, how
Mhm,
can I do that? How can I make one step towards that? And we can start thinking about that even when we're in the middle of being completely unwell, having
mhm.
so many symptoms that it affects our life terribly. We can start thinking in that way even then. Does that make sense?
Mm. It makes perfect sense. But you used a word at the very beginning and right when you started in this is being.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, we all want to do. I want to feel better. I want this. I want that. And we have a desire, but that desire is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we be that? Because it's, as you very well know, Melissa, it's in being it is when it starts to manifest or create within our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Took me a long time to figure that one out.
Oh, I'm every day,
I'm
in
still
every way,
figuring
I'm
it out.
still figuring it out.
Oh, this is why I love having these types of conversations with you.
Mm.
So tell everyone just a little snapshot of kind of who you are, creds, what you do, all the fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make this really quick. So I had three major health events in my life that led me to this space right here. The first one was a paralyzed leg. So I paralyzed the right side of my leg, or the right leg, so to speak. And so it took away everything I loved at that time, my identity, who I thought I was. At that time, Melissa, as you know, I was an all-American triathlete. And so when I paralyzed the leg, I couldn't run.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything.
Mm.
So then I went through a depression. I went through a loss, but a drive came within me. And 2 years later, I finished Ironman, which is a 2.4 mile swim, a
Right.
112-mile bike ride, and then I ran a marathon all within 17 hours. Actually, it took me 13 hours to finish it all. But it was a really is that basis of like, okay, I'm through. But what I didn't listen to at that time is I ignored why.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was in 2013, I got another opportunity to address why. And I was experienced 25 to 30 strokes a day for 4 months. They were TIAs, temporary ischemic attacks. And so what it would happen was, once again, the right side of my body, but instead of just being my leg, the whole right side of my body would paralyze.
Yeah.
And I could, after about 10 seconds after standing up, I could walk again. But at this time, I was working, I was doing this. But did I approach why this happened? Well, of course not, because that's not what I thought of in that time.
Yeah.
And so I once again, after 4 months, I healed the strokes and I did with diet. And I replaced my gut microbiome and I really worked hard on getting my gut right back in line.
Yeah.
Then in 2017, I was diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis. And
Mm,
at that time, my neurologist told me I was 6 months from a wheelchair.
mm,
And I'm kind of stubborn a little bit. And I said no.
right?
But it walked me down a path. It started to walk me, and it was very subtle. I almost didn't even recognize it because at this time, too, I was going through a lot of fear. When you go to Dr. Google and look up MS, I didn't even know what MS stood for.
Yeah.
And when you look it up in Dr. Google, it doesn't seem promising for us.
Yeah.
And so I started to go into worry,
Mm-hmm.
shame,
Mm-hmm.
fear, guilt,
Yeah.
loss,
Mm-hmm.
and other things started to happen in my life that then supported fame, sheer guilt, loss within me. And I started to see more and more of it. Then I woke up. Now, at this time, I was not using a wheelchair. From 2017 to 2020, 3 years after, I was so excited. I was like, oh, I showed the doctors, and my ego came into it. I know I can do this. I'm tough. I'm an Iron Man. I can blah, blah, blah. Fill in the blanks. But it wasn't until I surrendered to this moment, surrendering to my higher self, did I find the similar theme that healed all three instances.
Mm.
And that was love. But not love outside of me, but love within me.
Yeah. Mm. Whew.
Mhm.
You put a lot in about 3 minutes.
A lot in 3 minutes, but you know what?
I
It's the
love it.
basis of it
Yep.
all. It's like, yes, we all go
Exactly.
through events in our life. We all have difficult moments. We all have trauma of its own kind. And any trauma is terrible trauma. No trauma is any worse than another. But it's what we do with this in this moment. Do we go and fight and be a warrior and really go and I'm going to attack it and fight it? Or do we turn to who we authentically really are, which is love? That is who you are, Melissa. That is who anybody that's listening to this right now, that is who you are, is love. That's why love feels so good,
Yeah.
because it's leading you to this path. And that's what those three incidences in my life, and I have others, kept leading me to love,
Mm.
but loving me. And it wasn't until I surrendered to it and opened my hands, and it didn't happen fast.
In that path, like there's so many pieces, but you mentioned, and then I woke up.
Mm.
What kind of triggered that? What happened there? Because it's, I mean, to hear your story and to like, I didn't know you back then. I've only known you s- as you are now, and as you have chosen to live your life now.
Mhm.
I would love to hear a little bit more about what caused you to start thinking about your illness differently. What brought the opportunity for you to wake up?
Mm. Yeah, I remember the day.
Mm,
But prior to that day, I was asked, I was, my ex-wife asked me for a divorce. I was married 21 years. I have two kids in high school.
mhm,
I had one about ready to go to college, and I was in a deep depression. I
mm,
was just lost. I had no idea which way to go. And I kept grabbing at straws. And then my ex wife left me
mhm,
and kicked me out of the house. And I remember where I was living at during the divorce was beautifully next to a river, honestly, a river in Breckenridge, Colorado. And I'm sitting there, and I remember in meditation one day, and at this time I had been practicing meditation for a year and a half. And so I'd become a meditation practitioner. and looking at these areas. And I remember sitting by the river that day, and I remember crying. I remember tears coming down my face. I felt such immense loss of what can I do, to points of thoughts of I didn't want to be here anymore on the planet. And it was in my darkest time I found the brightest light, and this light came with a voice in the back of my head. It was kind of like a knowing that came in. And I remember hearing, you can approach the rest of your life with anger, shame, guilt, depression, frustration, and fear, or you can approach your life with joy and love. It is your choice. And then the voice went away. And in that meditation, I sat there and said, well, what would I want in my life? At the end of my life, do I want to be in fear? Do I want to be in love? And at that moment, I chose to live the rest of my life with joy and love. It wasn't a conscious choice. It wasn't a choice where I knew which step I was going to take. I just surrendered. And I opened my hands as tears flowed down my face and say, I surrender. I choose joy and love. Now, at this time, I'm only walking 800 steps. Multiple sclerosis, I had it down to that point. I could walk 800 steps, and then I would have to sit or do something else, or I was so tired I'd have to go sleep. And one thing I noticed a week after I surrendered, I started walking farther. Then I started, at that time, I was counting my steps everywhere. I noticed a day went by, I walked 2,600 steps. And I was like, holy cow, where did I go? I didn't even think about it. I just did it. But I kept finding love around me. I remember sitting in meditation and a hummingbird just flying within inches in front of my face. It scared the crap out of me, but it was absolutely beautiful. I saw things, colors were brighter, and I just saw things. It wasn't anything I was doing, but it was what you said early on in this. It was who I was being. So I was being love, but I was being love for everything. Then all of a sudden, like as I was there, and I was always doing research, and I saw a video from Diana Caputo, the paleo boss lady. And I watched, and she had said in this video how she had sat in front of her plate of vegetables and said, oh, body, look what I'm going to give you now. And it was inspiring. So the next time I sat down for dinner, I looked at the food I was giving, and I gave so much gratitude for the food that I was about to eat. I mean, the things that, when we were growing up as kids, what I grew up 17 years Catholic educated, and it's what we did. Like mom always said, oh, who's going to say grace tonight? And at that time I was like, yeah, I guess I'll do it. But I had no idea what it meant. It meant finding joy and love for everything around us. For who I was being. For, this is the tough part, is showing love and joy for the MS diagnosis. And I had no idea it was going to lead me somewhere, but it did.
So early on in the years that we've known each other, one of the questions that I remember that you asked me was something around, do you feel like multiple sclerosis was a gift?
Yes.
At the time, I struggled with that because I'm like, holy crap, that was no, if I got a gift like that today, I would give it back.
I would no longer talk to the gift giver.
Return to sender. Nobody lives that wants that.
Yes.
But as I spent time with that and really leaned into that, it has been one of the greatest gifts I've been given. Not just the illness or the ick that comes with it,
right,
but the recovery journey to be able to walk that. And I see a reflection of that in what you're sharing today is because it helped you understand not just who you were,
Mhm.
but gave you a point of choice to move into who you wanted to be.
Mm. That's actually
Wow.
beautifully said. Now, if you take a look at autoimmune conditions, it's at epidemic levels that the individual is getting diagnosed with autoimmune conditions.
I see.
I believe we are in a mass conscious shift of awakening.
Mhm.
So, is that dis-ease an opportunity for us to
Mhm.
awaken? Now, anybody listening to this right now, if you're in the throes of it, you might turn off the podcast right now. You might be like, no way am I listening to this guy again. This guy is crazy. But hang with us for a minute.
Yep.
What is it showing you?
Yeah.
And what you'll find, it's a return to love. The next time a frustrating event shows up to you, next time you get cut off, on the road,
Right.
what would love do? So, as we're looking at this, I want you guys to imagine for a minute we're all flowing down a river, and we're flowing down the river of health. Now, this river at times is very smooth and beautiful, at times it's rocky where things don't feel well in that moment. Now, on the left side of this river, on the left bank, it is dark, it is scary, it is not warm. It's someplace if you saw it, you'd be like, oh, I'm not going over there. And so we're going to dub that as fear.
Mm.
Now,
Mhm.
on the right side of this river, it's light, there are flowers, green grass. It's absolutely beautiful. It's very inviting. And we're going to call that side of the river love. So I have to ask you a question, Melissa. You can spend the rest of your day in fear, or you can spend the rest of your day in love. Which one do you choose?
Mm. I love that. I love that we get a choice.
We do. We all get a choice
Yeah,
every
right.
day in every decision that we make.
Mm.
But with the studies Dr. Bruce Lipton has done and Dr. Greg Braden has done, 95% of the time, we choose fear. And after your diagnosis, did you choose love or fear? And love is anger, shame, guilt, depression, frustration, worry, doubt,
Mm.
that feeling of not enough that our society promotes. It doesn't promote it from the actual physical level. They don't come on TV and go, it's time to get your dose of not enoughness today. But
Right.
go to Facebook.
Mm.
Have you ever seen somebody's trip that they're taking? If you've been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and you're not walking well, do you ever look at an individual and have guilt or have jealousy? Or
Mm.
do you judge them under that? And I'm not saying this is tear bear, neither here nor there. Look at this as the observer, as the
Mhm.
person just witnessing it. Because if you witness it, you put yourself into a different energetic plane. You
Exactly.
see love on the other side.
Mm.
But if you're noticing this with yourself, let's say you have a difficult time having kids and you see somebody with a new baby and you're like, oh, why can't I? It's judgment of
Mhm.
self.
Yeah.
So, what would it mean to take one small shift to love? And
Mm.
oftentimes we go on the bank of love and we don't go on the total side of love. We kind of walk around on the bank a little bit in the sand and we're like, I don't know, can I do this? But that's all it needs.
Yeah.
All we need is the faith of a mustard seed. We just need a little bit of love because a little bit of love attracts more love into your life.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I love that. So when you were on your journey of recovery, what was your biggest holdback? Was it fear?
Fear was a big one. But yeah, fear, I would say, is the ultimate holdback for all of us. On the side, it was me. I
Mm.
didn't think I was enough. I
Mm.
didn't think I could do it. Well, who am I to be smarter than the doctors?
Ah,
Well, right there, I didn't think I was smart enough. I
yeah,
didn't think I was good enough.
yeah.
I didn't think I had this ability. I didn't think that my body could ever heal, because that feeling of not enough attracted more opportunities to feel not enough.
Yeah.
I mean, down from every conversation that I have had was with hope. And
Yeah.
hope is doubt, essentially. Hope is actually very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just left at hope, hope has doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't believe that I can. And then I would notice an instance when my walking wasn't very good. And I would think of that time with the doctor, and the doctor telling me I was 6 months from a wheelchair. And I'm like, oh, am I just getting worse?
Yeah.
But then the other on this side, if I didn't think I was not enough in this period, I didn't put a desire out there. I
Mm,
didn't want for something. I didn't want for something bigger than me.
that's huge.
Because if I'm living in not enoughness,
Mm-hmm.
then why would I want something bigger? Because at that point, the fear of disappointment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what have you chosen to do with that? How does that affect you now? What have you
Mm.
morphed that into?
It's actually into something absolutely beautiful. And now I see every time I witness fear as the observer,
Mm-hmm.
it is exciting,
Mm.
because it tells me I'm pushing on my edge, my sphere
Mm-hmm.
of possibility, who I think I am, what I can do. If
Mm-hmm.
I really am an infinite being of light and love,
Mm-hmm.
who I really am, and I truly believe this, then nothing is impossible.
Exactly.
I live in my limitless self. Now, my perceived limitless self is different than the universe's or God's perceived limitless self, much bigger than anything I can think of in my mind. It's kind of like everything that we do. We go, oh man, I'm thinking so big, but you're really thinking like this, and that's okay. You're going to press that edge. Now, every time I feel that
Yeah.
fear, I'm like, ooh, I'm stepping into something good. And then I ask myself, do I enjoy that? Will
Mm.
that bring me joy? And if
Mm.
the answer is no, I don't do it. Now,
Yeah.
there are some obligations like cleaning the toilet, taking care of our kids, like doing all those things. Yes, there are obligations. We have to do those. So I'm not saying all of a sudden this completely disregards all of it. It's finding the joy within it.
Yeah.
And if I don't feel like it in that moment, I don't.
Mm.
If there's something I have to do for my kids in that moment, yeah, I may not want to do it in that moment, but I find the joy within it.
Exactly. It's a
And I
choice.
find the joy within my own heart in saying, okay, I know this is temporary, not permanent. And
Mm-hmm.
so too this shall pass.
Yeah.
And I will move through this. And so when I do that, I do it to the best of my ability in that moment, not
Mm-hmm.
somebody else's, because
Mm-hmm.
that's not enoughness. And I'll say, well, Billy did this so much better than me. And this, well, that's Billy.
Yeah.
In this moment right now, I may be exhausted, tired, and all I want to do is take a nap.
Yeah.
And that is going to bring me joy right now. So I take a nap to the best of my ability. And I expect nothing in return.
Mm.
Because remember, we have free will, Melissa.
Yeah.
And with my free will, don't I take away the power of the universe and infinite possibility?
Mm.
So I just follow my heart in that moment. So, really, in how this all changed and all these things is I live in the present moment. This present moment of now is the only time that I can have. Being here with you right now,
Mhm.
being here in all of this beautiful space is happens now. So
Mhm.
I do the best that I can do in this moment and
Mm.
expect nothing in return and just enjoy the space
Mm.
and follow my heart. My heart has the answer.
Oh, I could go down a rabbit hole there. Oh my gosh. So I mean, everything that you've talked about it, everything that you've experienced, and everything that you've moved through and learned, you're now turning that around to
Mhm.
help others. And I
Yes.
love that. It's
Oh,
like
absolutely.
the gift that you were given of these really hard places
Mhm.
and learning from that, learning the tools, learning how to really shift this for yourself.
Mhm.
You've created an amazing, amazing space
Mhm.
for others. Could you tell us more about that? I know there was a big launch today and I want to hear about it.
Yes, we launched it today. It's called Visualize It. I've been studying this for over 20 years. It started with Rhonda Byrne and The Secret, and then it went to Shakti Gawan and creative visualizations, and Wayne Dyer, then Abraham Hicks, and all of this. Well, it's Esther Hicks. Abraham, she channels Abraham, and all of these great teachers that have come to us through all of these periods, and they all share a similar format and story. So then what I was inspired to create was Visualize It. What Visualize It is this is consistency, energetic alignment of love and joy, and support. So
Mm,
what's really cool about this with Visualize It, I get to send an individual, I have the opportunity to send an individual 2 reminder text messages and or emails every day with a visualization meditation of their choice. So they pick the meditation and they take a step. This meditation is only 4 minutes in length. And what we'll do in that meditation is I have them calm the body, create the body in that space, then visualize it with all 5 of their senses, then create energetic alignment with gratitude, all in 4 minutes. Then, with this, it comes with group coaching every week, twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays. On Mondays, we create the intention, and on Thursdays, that is where we remove resistance and celebrate that moment. Stepping into that and giving additional support to each other. It's also a part of a Facebook group of individual like-minded visualizers that believe, know, and support you along the journey. What this also comes with is every month I'll be holding a workshop. Either it's aligning to your guides and your angels, or in that workshop is removing resistance or cultivating joy in your life, because it's a process. And so you start a little bit and allow it to expand. And so where this starts in there is really where the darkest times are, is where the light comes through, and
mm,
that's where we can actually make changes within our lives. Then with the consistency every day, you begin seeing something different in your mind. Instead of dis-ease progression, you begin to see possibility and growth. And so then the things that you do, whether you are with Melissa, whether you, whatever choice you're making, eating a salad for lunch, and you make that choice of the salad, exercise, love, whatever it is where the light comes through, and you expand this with consistency. So you're changing what you visualize,
mm.
what you see yourself as being, and then it continues to expand. So really cool story. I have an incredible woman. We just got through beta phase of Visualize It. And there was a woman that hasn't walked in 2 years.
Mm.
And she started to visualize herself walking independently. She started to see herself in that space, and she found joy with this. And she found so much love that she looked forward to the visualizations that come at 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. every day based on your time zone, which is kind of fun. And so with this, she started to see it. And then there was a day she needed to go buy something at a department store, and she went with a friend. And when she goes to the department store, she'd always used the electric scooter, which is great, but she went to it and it was broken. when she walked into the store. And her friend's like, oh, you know what? Just let's get back to the car and then we'll just go to a different store. And she's like, no, grab me a shopping cart. I think I can walk through here. And she did. Up and down all the aisles. She goes, I had so much fun doing it. I was laughing the whole way. And she's like, oh my gosh, this works. I really know that I can. But right there
Mhm.
is that created more possibility within her. And then she showed up at group coaching and she's like, Matt, I walked. And I said, well, of course you did.
Yeah,
And she goes, what's next? Then the question is, what do you want?
exactly. What does she want to do?
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
And so she's expanding more and more. And what's happening is she sees the gift that was given to her because she not only started to walk, she started to improve her relationship with her father in law, who's living with them. She improved her relationship with her friends and other people around her. She was being loved, and love attracts more love. And she said, conversations have been different.
Yep.
She goes, Matt, I was at the department store and somebody walked up to me and said what an inspiration I was for them. And she goes, I had no idea that I was. When you are the light, people see the light, and then miracles happen. Different things show up for you that you never thought possible. I read something recently and I thought it was very beautifully said is that every desire you have ever wanted in your life is an escrow in the universe,
I love that.
and it's just waiting for you to see it, to be it, like you said earlier.
Oh, I love that. I love that so, so very much.
Mm.
So tell everybody how they can contact you, how they can explore what you're doing, how they can be a part of what you're offering right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to identityofhealth.com. And if you go to identityofhealth.com, you'll see a tab at the top that says visualize it. Click on that, and it'll tell you everything about the program, everything that you will receive. And you know what's crazy, Melissa? It's not thousands of dollars, it's $47 a month. It's so affordable. I mean, typically, you know, with what we coach and what we offer as an investment for your health, I wanted to make this so accessible. I
Yeah.
wanted to make it so easy because I can see you as healed. I
Mhm.
know you that you are. I know you have the ability to do this. And where this is going to grow into as we go into phase two of this is going to be retreats. It's going
Mhm.
to be
Love it.
additional coaching. It's going to be what's really cool is we're going to be able to create visualization practitioners. So now in that group, in that Facebook group, you can put a request out to have group and other individuals visualize for you on your behalf along with you to
Love
create like energy that creates more. Think of prayer groups that you grew up with. You
it.
know, when we were at church and they said, please pray for my grandmother. She's ailing. She's sick in this moment. But we get to do the same thing. There
Mm.
are no limitations. There's only healing and possibility. So, yes, go to identityofhealth.com.
Mm. I love that. Thank you ever so much for
Mm,
everything today. It's been so
you're
good to
so
chat with
welcome.
you again. Oh
It's
gosh.
it's such a pleasure to be with you, Melissa. I want to say being with you, knowing you in this journey was one of the greatest gifts handed to me.
Mm.
And I would not be here if I had not surrendered that day by the river. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Oh my gosh. So one of the things that I would love everyone to walk away with is to lean into who are you actually? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be in love? or do you want to be in fear?
Mm.
A lot of times we don't think about the fact that we have a choice there.
Yeah.
And I hope you can lean into the fact that you do have a choice. You get to choose, and it doesn't matter what's happening around you. It doesn't matter what's happening with your body. It doesn't matter what circumstances are around you. This is a totally inside job.
Yeah.
But
I
the
love how you just said that. It's an inside job. Yes.
beauty of it, though, is that what's inside comes out and affects everything around us. So just using you, Matt, as an example, when you chose to be love,
Mm.
you started to see confirmations around you and things changed. You're able to see things differently. But also when you were living in fear, those things, you could see confirmations and things around you that was confirming that for you. But the
Yeah.
only thing that was pivotal and made the difference in what happened was your choice.
Mhm. What did I want to see?
Exactly. And I want, if you guys can take away anything from this conversation today, I would love for you to take away the fact that you've got a choice.
Mm.
Do you choose to be in love, to see love,
Mm.
or to be in fear and see fear? You get to choose.
Mm.
Awesome.
So
Thank you,
beautifully
Matt.
said. I love you, Melissa. Thank you.
Oh, love you too. I'm so happy for each person that's here. And I hope that as you're listening, you're leaning into what is possible for me.
Mm.
Take care, you guys.
Okay.